morning. Tim Barnes here, Marion County Extension Educator. We're going to delve in a little bit into the land markets here in Ohio that is going on this year. And really, it's been a tremendous market that everybody's benefited from and surely enjoyed this as we compare this to some of the past history that we've seen in the sheep industry. Again, our traditional markets, we're going to hit today a little bit on price, lamb supply, kind of the total flock inventory, cold storage, a little bit how imports are playing into this, and also how a few exports do exist. I think this is really an interesting chart. Those that have listened before, I do use United Producer Livestock Association's prices from their Mount Vernon, Ohio collection station. And as you look at this chart, the way they break their pricing structures down when they record it is lambs 131 pounds and up. And then you can see 100 to 129 pounds, 80 to 99 pounds, 60 to 79 pounds, and then the lighter, the roaster type lambs, 40 to 59 pounds. And you can see this chart is from the first of the year, basically here to the 1st of August. And just extremely interesting when you've seen the consolidation basically from the 1st of June till today, and today I guess is the end of August, how all the different weight ranges are basically priced in that pretty narrow window. And as you look at it, it's basically a little bit over $250 a hundred. So interesting. Probably, will this continue? We're going to get into that a little more here, but surely any commodities, when we see this, this convergence of prices, it's obviously, we know there's a tremendous demand out there. Supply and demand situation. Again, when we saw these good prices early, and I said, again, I am a sheep producer in that January, April timeframe, I think we did see extremely high prices then. We went ahead and sold heavy, and then that kind of reduced the lambs that were left because our early spring lambs haven't really matured yet in that May to July timeframe. And so there was almost 20% reduction in slaughter numbers. Remember, the packing plant in Colorado did close down, and then there was a new one built in Texas. So there's been some regionalization changes here in the major players. For Ohio, generally still the people that do process our lambs tend to be in our area and on east of us here. So this probably didn't impact us greatly, but it is something to consider. We read and hear a lot about the droughts in the western states, and surely this has caused liquidation out there. Also, some of these packing plant restructures and relocation has played into liquidation a little bit also. As you look in the cooler, the amount of product that was on inventory, it was there, and our like we said, our slaughter numbers were down. The demand was there, so the cold storage figures look pretty wild. They are 54% lower this year for the last year. And as you look at the 5-year average, it's 44% lower over that period of time. Slaughter forecast as we look for the rest of 21, it's going to be down some, 1.6. Hopefully that isn't a whole lot more. The other thing we've talked about in the past is how carcass weights continue to go down. And going back to the chart we referred there, if you're getting the same dollars per hundred for 130-pound lamb as you are a 60 or 70-pound lamb, the feed costs, you're probably not going to put those in there. Might as well go ahead and pocket some dollars and net profit into your operation. But what is the market saying? Well, we're seeing lower imports from Australia and New Zealand, 12% lower, and that's due to the drought down there. They just don't have the product to ship. But as the weather will change, and that will increase surely the amount of imports coming out of that region. Actually, New Zealand has been the one that's been a little stronger on imports this year. With those good mature sheep slaughter values early on in the year, I think a lot of people just went ahead and sold and cashed in on those dollars. Call ewes, traditionally we send a lot of them to Mexico, but this past year with the COVID and not sure the total reasoning, but the great number of call ewes ended up going to Canada. Rebound in demand. We're seeing it in the white tablecloth restaurants as the cruise ships start coming back online now. Going to be more and more demand for those bigger lambs. Now, whether their prices are more realistic long term where they're at right now, we'll just have to wait and see how this lamb size differential changes over the next few years. Imports at the price that we're at is extremely attractive for them. They're probably going to renegotiate and refigure, they probably need to get more product here into the US just as this price relationship continues to be extremely attractive. Right now, we really, when you look at numbers and everything, the US infrastructure of the sheep industry really doesn't show much expansion. But again, that can be something that can change fairly rapidly. Normal price distribution into the holidays, as we look later this year and into next spring, we're just not going to come up with a whole lot of more used lamb. The availability of slaughter individuals is, again, we know pretty well what those numbers are going to be. So it's kind of, these high prices will probably be here at least for the next 6 to 8 months would be what we would expect off of the numbers we're seeing. I throw this slide in there just strictly to show how high it compares with our inventory to the other states here east of the Mississippi. Again, the East Coast is a tremendously big market for us, a lot of demand there. And Ohio tends to be the leader in sheep numbers here. And to meet that demand, we surely could do some expansion, but also really give a steady supply for the consumer. If you do think about expansion, just very briefly, I threw this in here, this market stability and volatility, prices are not going to stay at this level long term, or we surely wouldn't expect that as we think about supply and demand. But again, when you're figuring maybe do some expansion, just be a little conservative on your numbers. Size, it's easy to add a few animals, but as you get to an economic unit, that may really be a major part of the income stream for your farm, considerably bigger investment management-wise and operational-wise. If you do have to finance something, again, a lot of great ag lenders out there, more and more of them have livestock experience from working with poultry, swine, and dairy, but, sheep production tends to be a little unique. And so make sure you find somebody who can work with you there. We all see all these signs help wanted. Again, if you're going to go and expand, just realize right now the labor market is something that's very specialized for what you would need in your sheep production, and the available people out there would be something you're probably going to have to look pretty hard for. Facilities, lumber prices, metal prices finally have started coming down. So if you're thinking about some big investment in a new facility, obviously the cost of your overhead costs there to lock in that kind of facility is greatly reduced from what it was 6 months ago. But a lot of good plans out there how you could expand your sheep operation. A little bit on what could slow us down. The declining sheep numbers. Again, annually we see just this slow erosion on numbers. When we get to a point where that stabilizes, and then we'll start to see some additional increase, I guess that remains to be seen. Here in Ohio, the regionalization of the packers, like we talked about, the new plant in Texas, and on the West Coast there's plants, but again, most of our product goes to the East Coast. Another thing that will relate to this demand a little bit is the cost of products at the point of sale for the consumer in the grocery store. We tend to be a little more expensive than some of the other products. And that's something that will have to be considered. In conclusion, just a quick summary here. Again, land prices, I would think, are going to be extremely good for the next 6 to 8 months until we really get some fundamental changes in supply, and the demand looks like it's going to stay there. So with that in mind, thank you much. If you got any questions, just shoot me an email, and we'll look forward to talking again soon.